This is Hospitality 1-to-1, conversations on the industry. Here's your host, Chris Bettis.
David, thank you so much for taking time out of your hectic schedule to talk to us today.
Thanks so much, Chris. It's great to be here.
The pleasure is all ours. So, I wanted to talk a little bit. You're over in the UK, correct?
Yep, we're in central London.
Wow, you're one of a handful, only two so far of our guests who've been across the pond. So we now have international flair. I feel so much more important now, if you will.
No, the privilege is ours, Chris. It's all right.
So I wanted to kind of get kicked off, if we can here. Talk a little more about Swayy, because you've kind of tapped into a marketplace that's both up and coming, but I think has probably been untapped, if you will. So first, just start from the ground floor. What is Swayy?
Okay, great. So Swayy is the world's first influencer booking campaign and relationship management tool in the hospitality space. So the idea is to put hotels, both small and very large, in front of hundreds of thousands of potential customers and targeting those potential customers through their mobile phones and through social media via digital influencers. That's the idea.
So, I guess, how does that work? Kind of give me a real-time example how that would play out.
So in terms of the way it works, it's actually very simple. So we've taken away all of the hassle and all the time-consuming process involved in negotiating with and trying to source relevant influencers. And the way it works is very simple. Hotels will post a listing onto Swayy. We have thousands of pre-vetted influencers that will then apply to work with that particular hotel or hotel brand. Mm-hmm. And obviously within that listing, hotels will state which regions they want exposure in, what they want the influencer to specifically focus on. Perhaps it's the beautiful room, view from the rooms, or the location of the property, whatever brand messaging the property wants projected to its potential customers at scale. And then once the applicant influencers have applied, the hotel can very quickly evaluate them and see all their relevant details, all their key metrics, including demographics of the influencer themselves. So, who is following that particular social media influencer, which regions are they from, etc., so that the hotel knows which markets they're reaching. Then obviously the influencer will go and stay at the hotel. All right, based around when it's convenient for the hotel, so the hotel can use unsold inventory to promote its hotel in the future. All right, instead of leaving the room empty, they can actually use those rooms to bring in influencers and promote the hotel. And then at the end of the process, once all the work has been done, the influencers share their content, and everything's been completed. The hotel will rate the influencer just like you do your Uber driver, from 1 to 5 stars, so that there's a complete, simple, transparent, and closed-loop process whereby hotels and travel brands have full control, and also influencers have control, so they can decide which hotels and which travel brands are most appropriate for their individual brands. So that's the idea, and hotels ultimately benefit from both increased brand awareness scale. They get a reduction they can enjoy a reduction in reliance on OTA commissions, because obviously every direct booking that's made by one of these potential customers through the promotion of the social media influencer is tracked, and it's direct, and obviously the influencer is directing their followers to the website of the hotel. All right, and so obviously there's an increase in direct bookings and ultimately an increase in profitability.
So it sounds like you're utilizing Swayy to be able to, from a hotel standpoint, they say, okay, we want to find in a certain demographic certain people who others in that demographic follow, people who they take their cues from, again, influencers. You then reach out to them, invite them to stay at their hotel, for example, and then utilize those social influencers to help, from almost a grassroots effort, spread the word about the hotel. And then you can track what impact each social influencer has on bringing new guests to the hotel. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And actually, important thing to add, Chris, is that what we're doing is we're taking a very old concept of word of mouth, which, as we all know, is the most powerful form of advertising. But, traditionally word of mouth has been, or it's offline, it's unscalable, and it's localized. So, you and I, and I'm sure many of your listeners have all asked for tips and recommendations from friends and family about, where they should go, what they should do, etc., and actually acted upon those tips and recommendations. So that's kind of how influence has traditionally been carried out. But what we've done is we've turned it on its head, and this basically gives hotels the ability to embrace digital word of mouth, which obviously is online. It's scalable, so instead of just reaching your close friends and family, the influence is over hundreds of thousands of people, and it's not localized. It can be targeted to the specific audience that the hotel is looking to reach.
Now, we tossed around the word social influencer. I don't want to assume that everyone knows what that means. So let's define that. What is a social influencer?
Okay, it's a great question. And the answer is there are varying definitions of what a social influencer is. From our point of view, anybody who has a loyal following on social media, it could be as little as, just 100 people or 50 people, and it can go up into the millions. Each of those individuals is an influencer in their own right. Okay, what's important is not so much the size of the following. That's one key tip I would give to listeners is if they do start engaging with social media influencers themselves, is to not worry about trying to get the person with the biggest reach, actually to look at the person with the biggest resonance, so the person with the best engagement rates. And the reason for that is that even if you only have 50 people, Chris, that listen to what you say and that really take on board your advice on where to stay, what to do, etc., or it could be on any subject really, those 50 people are much more likely to actually book and or seriously consider visiting that property, as opposed to 20,000 people that are following a celebrity that was on a TV show, for example, that's got literally nothing to do with travel at all, if that makes sense. Because they're only following that individual because they were famous or that they're on this TV show, rather than this person being a thought leader in the travel space. Now,
you talked about tracking, which obviously is essential because you have to see what kind of ROI you're getting from doing this. How do the hoteliers know that guest who's booked or who's walking in their door, they came from Swayy, they came from being referred through Swayy?
It's a great question, and there's different ways of doing it. We have our own unique tracking links, which each hotel can use, and there can be individual bespoke ones for each individual influencer, so that hotels can see every click through from the influencer's social media pages directly through to the hotel's website. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we can use various codes and tokens. For example, Chris 10 is the code which all people should use if they book within the next week or so, and obviously we can track that. But the important thing to remember is that this ultimately comes down to recall marketing. Why is it that Coca-Cola and Pepsi, why do you still see them on every billboard wherever you go, all over the world? And it's people obviously know about Coke. They're so big that everybody knows about them, but they still invest tens of millions of dollars in just refreshing and reminding people that they are still there, and that perhaps they might want that they want a Coke, so that the next time that they're thirsty, the first thing they'll think of is, well, actually, yeah, I'm going to grab a Coke rather than grabbing a lemonade or something. So the key point, what I'm trying to say, is that whilst obviously the direct booking is the end goal, it's much more than that. It factors into, from a psychological point of view, it puts the vivid imagery of these influencers starts the potential customer on the dreaming and the planning phase of the consumer booking journey. So right before they even know they want to go there, they are kind of transformed into the dreaming and the planning phase, and those two phases account for nearly 3/4 of all the time spent on any booking is spent on those two phases. And the last thing is also that it also kind of moves the entire loyalty journey from kind of after the guest having stayed at the property to well in advance to the very first touch point and that first wow experience that they had looking at this vivid imagery, because the imagery evokes emotion and desire, and actually Morgan Stanley have found that a wow first impression at a first touch point doubles the chances of a booking actually being made.
Wow. So that goes back to the old adage, as we've been told all growing up, you never can get a second chance to make a good first impression.
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial. It's so important. That's basically why this exists.
Now, let's talk. I mean, you probably are the best person to answer this question. When it comes to social media, what do you think is the best, I guess, form of social media to utilize from a hotel standpoint to reach audience? Is it Snapchat? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? What's really the best tool to reach guests?
It's a great question, and the answer is actually very simple. Okay, Instagram is the fastest growing social media site ever. They gain 100 million new users every 6 months. And more than that, 1 in 5 mobile minutes now anywhere in the world is spent on Facebook and Instagram. Okay? So just tying back into the consumer booking journey, tying back into the amount of time people are spending on mobile and on social media, it's the way the consumer is engaging with hotels nowadays is all through mobile and social. Hotels can no longer afford to kind of shout at potential customers. They need to engage with them, and this is how they do that.
I'm going to re-ask that question again because our connection is getting a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm going to re-ask the question again, only because at the end we got garbled. But I like the answer, just so you know. So I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, 1. So you're probably the best person to ask this question because of your background. There's Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, it's out there. Right now, you're a hotelier. What's the best social media platform to market your hotel?
So unquestionably, Instagram is a hotel's best friend. Ultimately, Instagram is the fastest growing social media site ever. They gain 100 million new users every 6 months. But more than that, 1 in 5 mobile minutes now is spent on Instagram and Facebook worldwide. So this is the way that hotels, the way that consumers are engaging with hotels, and where they're spending most of their time is focused around mobile. Intercontinental's hotel group predict that by 2020, over 40% of online travel sales will come through mobile. So if we look at the data, the way that consumers are engaging with hotels, it's all through mobile. Okay, we know that already. It's heavily through social, and it's no longer about putting up a billboard and trying to, shout at the consumer. It's all about engaging with them and talking to them and resonating with them through the media that they usually, that they spend their time on. And this is a way that using influencers who have a trusted relationship and who have a strong relationship with their followers, this is a very powerful way to reach a targeted audience that's relevant for the hotel.
Now, can a social influencer, are they more picked as well based on their demographic, based upon their number of followers, what have you? Are they picked for this role, or is someone able to say, hey, I would like to be a social influencer for my demographic? How do you, can it be picked, or is it just determined based on numbers?
It's all kind of, there's an element of self-selection in the sense that, we get inundated with requests from influencers. We turn away over 82% of people that apply to work at Swayy because we have a robust quality control. The idea being that, we evaluate influencers on a number of key metrics, on their leisure expertise. How often they go and stay in hotels. What's their image quality and the content quality, their caption quality, what's their engagement rates, what's their brand affinity score. There's a whole range of things that we look at. We also look at how credible is the influencer. Is it a 15-year-old who posts mainly about fashion items, which frankly is irrelevant, even though she may have 1 million followers, and these 1 million followers are all they adore her, but because she's some kind of like fashion icon. That's all well and good, but to a 3-star property based in Michigan, what value is that? There's no value at all. So the key thing is having the relevant data, knowing that you're working with the right brand ambassador for your particular property. That's the fundamental thing. So what we've tried to do is, once an influencer applies to a particular property, aside from the fact that they're all pre-vetted, they're all the key metrics are there in one place. So in a matter of seconds, the busy hoteliers, whether it's someone on reception, whether it's the GM, whether it's somebody in marketing or PR or revenue management, can look at all the relevant data. They can see the previous hotel brands they've worked with, previous examples of content they've generated for other hotels, the demographics we've mentioned before, and all the relevant information, so that very quickly, in a matter of seconds, they can decide whether or not this influencer is the right person for them to work with.
So this is a very unique tool, if you will. I'd be curious as to, what made you guys decide to utilize this? Kind of tell me what was the impetus behind why this even came about?
Okay, it's a great question. I think there's two fundamental things. The first thing is that, having grown up around hotels all my life and actually spoken with a lot of people in the hotel industry, it became very apparent that the big guys, the likes of Marriott and Co, are all they're all actively using influencer marketing, to the extent whereby the former VP of Global Creative and Content Marketing said not so long ago that influencer marketing is here to stay, and it should play a central role in our strategy as hoteliers to win the hearts, minds, and wallets of consumers. So we know that the big guys are doing it. The problem came, and the reason why Swayy was, we went away and we developed Swayy, was because the small independent hotelier, or those who don't have the resources internally to, or the budget to hire very expensive PR agencies who, in practice, they would charge thousands and thousands of dollars per month, and they would try and run influencer campaigns on a manual basis. So what they would do is they would they would have a little black book of their preferred influencers, and then contact them, email them, and then there'd be this backwards and forwards, toing and froing of all these emails, trying to set up some form of collaboration. And the hotel, and the hotel's paying thousands of dollars for that privilege, and it's completely inefficient. You have to physically have somebody trying to manage this process, and imagine the time and resource that takes, and the costs also internally for the PR agency. As a result, that's why they have to charge thousands of dollars to do that. So what we did was, we've taken technology, and we've built technology to we've built essentially like an Airbnb style platform, which has taken away all of the hassle. It's fully transparent. All the relevant data is there, and it makes the whole process of doing this at scale, not just booking in 1 or 2 influencers, to come and stay, but actually booking in, 10, 20, 50, 100, so that you have a campaign, a recall marketing campaign, going from month to month to month, as easy as possible, and that's really why, we have some of our advisors include, top executives at some of the biggest hotel groups in the world. One of our advisors is global director of digital at Movenpick. We've got the global head of sales for hotels at Samsung. Former CEO of Novotel France, amongst a whole load of others. So we have we're at a unique point in the industry whereby we're essentially democratizing the market for hoteliers. Hoteliers now have the ability to reach hundreds of thousands of potential customers at a fraction of the price that they would otherwise be able to if they hired a PR agency to do it internally. And actually, that's why PR agencies now have come to us, because they've said, "Hey guys, why is it that we're doing this manually and we have all this?" They incur the time and the resource issues themselves. So now they're actually using us as a tool for them to then sell on to their clients, if that makes sense.
Makes complete sense.
So we partner with agencies that way, and it proves it's a win-win situation for them and for us. Because again, we're just using technology to our advantage.
Now, talk about cost. What is it? I guess 2 questions first. How does someone, if they're interested in utilizing Swayy, how do they make it work for their hotel? And then talk about cost. What does it cost a hotel to get started with Swayy? Okay, so the first thing is, in terms of what it takes to get started, it's very, very, very simple. It takes maybe 5 to 10 seconds to sign up. Okay. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes which actually takes 6 minutes to do a listing. But I think for the first listing, we always, for new clients, we always do the listing for you, and we take you through it. So, that's a 10 to 15 minute phone call, or a face-to-face, depending on where in the world the client is. And then that's it. That's all they need to do. In terms of ongoing resource that's needed, even as little as 5 minutes every day or 5 minutes every couple of days, just to check the messages that have come through, because we have something called Swayy Chat, whereby influencers can start conversations with the hotel and just discuss, when they're coming to the UK, when they're coming to the hotel, or any questions they have about the collaboration themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's it. As simple as that. All of the information, all of the requirements, the do's and the don'ts, which hashtags should be used, tracking links, everything is already set out on, all the requirements set out on the listing. So, there shouldn't be too much. There shouldn't be too much else for the hotel to do, other than, of course, choose who they want to work with, because obviously they probably won't want to work with everybody if they get inundated with applications, and then that's it. Just basically maintain the relationship with those people, look after them when they come to stay at the hotel, and this is not a process of. It shouldn't be viewed as a transactional process of how much can you get out of an influencer. It should be more viewed as how many influencers, which are the best influencers and brand ambassadors for our particular property
that we can build a relationship with, because it's about the stronger the relationship with the influencer, that rubs off as well in terms of the relationship the influencer has with their followers. They're much more likely to really go the extra mile and really generate some amazing content and or promotional value for the hotel.
And then obviously if someone gets involved, what are we looking at? What's the cost?
Okay, in terms of financials, it's very simple. It's done on a per property basis. Mm-hmm. Okay, and at the moment the pricing is it's a flat fee monthly cost of $349 per month.
Okay, and
this enables hotels to reach unlimited influencers. They can reach tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of customers, even millions of potential customers, and actually on a cost per 1,000 impressions basis. We significantly undercut Google, we significantly undercut Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all of the traditional forms of advertising, because you can book unlimited influencers. So, we have some hotels that will literally book in, multiple influencers with millions and millions of followers. And, for that reason, they're able to reach a targeted audience within their target market at a fraction of the cost.
Now,
it's literally.
It sounds like a terrific opportunity. I guess the big question I would have, I know it's organic, so you can't as easily track it. But if you're a hotelier right now and you're sitting there going, okay, if I spend the money, I'm going to need to get some type of return on the investment, have some kind of time frame, if you will. So realistically, I know it's through word of mouth and all when it comes down to how the process works. But for an average hotelier, when they get from the time they get started and sign up, roughly how long does it take for them to start to realize guests from the program itself, from Swayy?
Well, the answer is it all depends on how actively they manage it and how aggressive they are in their promotion. So if, for example, they post a listing and, we have clients that will post a listing and it's a very attractive property, what they're offering is great. So, they end up bringing on board influencers, within, a couple of weeks or a month or so. And they're able to then reach, say, 500,000 people within the first month, then, from that, they could easily generate, there's 500,000 pairs of eyes that have seen the property. It will all depend entirely then on, once the potential customer's on the website, how good the website is then at closing the customer. We bring the customer to the website, and then thereafter, and obviously that part is all tracked. Thereafter, if the website's great, and then they book, wonderful. If they then disappear, there could be a whole range of other reasons. We have some customers that are very active, and they on a monthly basis they're able to reach millions of people and generate significant returns. In fact, I know of one. There's a group of holiday parks in the UK called John Fowler Holiday Parks, and in 3 months alone, they had generated a 67% increase in revenue.
Wow.
And a 630% ROI on their investment in just 3 months. So they're very, 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 very active at doing this sort of thing. There are other hotels as well. There are other hotels. If you're looking at the very big guys, IHG ran a campaign. I believe it was last year. It was in 2016, and they managed to reach millions and millions and millions of people just using about 60 odd influencers. And again, what that generated thousands and thousands of extra pairs of eyes directly looking at their website. And then obviously it's up to then IHG to convert. But the key thing is it's about getting them to the website and then making sure that website, it goes down to the simple things. Once they're on the website, make sure you convert. Make sure that all the relevant information is there. Because actually, Forrester research found that over 1 in 2 website visitors, hotel website visitors, will go to a website and then they'll disappear for good. So it doesn't matter how much you're spending on marketing. If your website is not up to par, then you might as well, go home. There's not much else. You can have any form of advertising, whether it's on Google or anywhere else. You could put up a billboard in Times Square if you like, and it's not going to make any difference, because if people are going to your website and they're disappearing, then that's the Achilles heel. So it's got to be viewed in conjunction with the overall strategy, the overall branding of the hotel, the availability, the occupancy levels. Factor in, and you can strategically use it so that if you've got a quiet month, you're going to have a lower occupancy, you can use those rooms, and therefore the opportunity cost is virtually zero of actually using this product. So that you're not losing out on giving rooms away when you're busy, sort of thing. So I hope that answered the question.
It does. Again, fascinating discussion. We could go on much longer, but our time is up. Before we let you go, if people are saying, well, this is something I really want to learn more about, want to get involved with, like to utilize for my hotel, first, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, well, my email is hello@swayy, swayy.me. So our website is www.swayy.me. Sway's with 2 Y's. Very happy to answer any questions, even if you're not interested in so much Swayy, but you're interested in just learning about influencer marketing itself, or learning about how it really works, or learning even about industry trends. We're very happy always to just discuss ideas and just educate people on what's happening in the travel tech space. Actually, we've been nominated as finalists at the Travel Tech Disrupt Awards coming up in February. So that's one of the things we're very passionate about, and it's educating people on how to really, and educating hoteliers on how to engage with technology to increase their business and to increase their efficiency, so that they keep moving forward and they keep pace with this technology, which is moving so quickly.
Well, I'll tell you what. Again, I know people are going to have questions. Like I said, this just generates a broader discussion, if you will. So if you are looking to get a hold of David or learn more about Swayy, you'll actually be able to go to our website, yourhotelrecruiter.com, and you'll be able to find the links to get a hold of David, find out more about Swayy. And again, David, phenomenal product. Wish you nothing but the best of luck, both in this year and in the years ahead. I think these are some exciting times, both for your company and for the industry in general. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Look forward to chatting soon.
Same here. Have a great day.